village of Umuoma, John and Amaka had been married for 10 years. Their union had been blessed with 3 daughters, Chioma, Onyinechi, and little Chisholm. But to John, it was no blessing at all. He longed for a son, an heir to carry his name. At first, he masked his disappointment, but with each daughter born, his patience wore thin. His love turned to resentment, his kindness to cruelty. And when Amaka became pregnant again, he made his intentions clear. If this child is not a boy, he warned one evening, don't bother coming back to this house. Amaka felt a deep chill. She knew this time, there was no forgiveness waiting for her if she failed him again. The night Amaka went into labor, John waited outside, pacing like a restless lion. The cries of his wife echoed from within the small hut, but he felt no sympathy, only desperation. When the midwife finally emerged, she carried a tiny bundle wrapped in cloth. Her face was grim as she looked at John. "It's a girl," she said. John's face darkened, his hands clenching into fists. Without a word, he turned and walked away, his heart heavy with disappointment. That night, he did not come home. When he finally returned days later, his coldness had hardened into cruelty. He refused to look at Amaka or acknowledge their newborn daughter. His love for her had turned into something unrecognizable. Weeks passed, and John's bitterness grew. His treatment of Amaka worsened, he barely spoke to her, and when he did, his words were sharp as knives. He ignored his daughters, refusing to see their worth. Then, one fateful evening, a tragedy struck Umuoma. A terrible storm swept through the village. The river swelled from the heavy rains, and the wooden bridge that connected the village to the farmland collapsed. Shouts of panic filled the air. A group of farmers, including John, were stranded on the other side, unable to cross the raging waters. The only way back was through a dangerous, rocky path that no one had dared to take in years. As the village gathered in distress, someone stepped forward. It was Chioma, John's eldest daughter. Chioma had always been curious, learning things women were not expected to know. She had spent time with the village blacksmith, watched the builders, and listened carefully whenever the elders spoke of the land. "I know another way across," she said, her voice steady. The villagers gasped. "Chioma, it is too dangerous," someone cried. But she was determined. With courage in her heart, she led a group of young men through the forgotten path, guiding them with knowledge no one had thought valuable because she was just a girl. Hours passed. The storm raged on. But then, through the rain, figures emerged from the mist, John and the other farmers, rescued and safe. John looked at his daughter, his heart pounding. She had saved them. His daughter had saved them. That night, John sat outside his hut, his mind heavy with thoughts. For years, he had believed only a son could bring honor to his name, that only a son could be strong, brave, and worthy. But today, it was his daughter who had proven him wrong. As Chioma approached, he looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time. You saved me," he whispered. Chioma smiled. "I only did what needed to be done, Papa." John swallowed hard. Shame filled him. How many years had he wasted, ignoring the blessings before him? Slowly, he reached out, resting a hand on her shoulder. "I was wrong," he admitted. "I see that now." And for the first time in years, John hugged his daughter. From that day forward, John changed. Not instantly, not completely, but enough. He began to see his daughters in a new light, not as disappointments, but as gifts. He watched as Chioma taught Onyinechi how to fix broken fences, as Chisholm played with the village children, her laughter like music. And one evening, as he sat beside Amaka, he finally said the words she had waited years to hear. "I was blinded by my own foolishness," he said softly. "Our daughters, they are enough." Amaka smiled, tears in her eyes. "They always were, John. You just had to open your heart to see it. A child's worth is not determined by their gender. Strength, intelligence, and honor are not exclusive to sons. True legacy is not about a name, it is about the lives we shape and the love we give."
Please press subscribe button. It help us bring you more interesting stories. Your support keep us going. Please subscribe.